but more on that later. Now, with that being said, here are some of the main concepts from Drew Eric Whitman's book titled Cashvertising: How to Use More Than 100 Secrets of Ad Agency Psychology to Make Big Money Selling Anything to Anyone. Most people don't know a thing about advertising and what makes people buy. Advertisers, as Drew says, try to be cutesy and clever. As you may have guessed by now, that is not how to make people buy from you. It's so bad that Drew goes on to use a quote from the late great David Ogilvy. He says, 99% of advertising doesn't sell much of anything to anyone. So then how do you sell your product or service to people? How do you persuade them? It really isn't that hard if you know human psychology and how the human mind works. According to some deductive logic, Drew illustrates, advertising is a subset of communication, sales is a subset of advertising, persuasion is a subset of sales, psychology is a subset of persuasion, and psychology is the study of the human mind. Therefore, one can deduct that if you know how the human mind works, then you know how to advertise. So, this book teaches you how to advertise by teaching you about how the human mind works. The most important point that Drew communicates in the whole book is that the human mind has 8 main desires, which he calls the Life Force 8, or LF8 for short. If you advertise to any of these 8 biological desires, then people will desire your product or service, and they will buy. After these 8 biologically programmed desires, there are 9, quote, secondary desires, or wants that all humans have. Hold on. This is really valuable stuff here. So before we go into detail and list the LF8, the 9 secondary desires, and Drew's other great tips, let's cover these 2 important marketing fundamentals so you can better apply and understand how to properly use what Drew teaches. Drew teaches these 2 marketing fundamentals later on in this book, but I feel like it's best if you understand them first before we go through the LF8 and the 9 secondary desires. Marketing fundamental number 1, AIDA. AIDA. You probably heard of the acronym AIDA or AIDA, which stands for Attention, Interest, Desire, and Action. Well, Drew didn't create the framework, but he agrees it's a very useful guide to making sure your advertising is persuasive and effective. Attention! None of your advertising matters if you don't first have their attention and interest. This is obvious, but you might be surprised on how many people miss the importance of getting and holding someone's interest. You might have the best ad ever created, but no one will buy your product if you can't capture and keep their attention long enough to read or watch or listen to your ad. Desire. You must make your prospect, aka future customer, desire what you are selling. If desire is strong enough, they will take action, but it really helps to get them to act on their new desire right away because there's a very small, next to nothing, infinitesimal chance they will take the time to buy your product at a later time. So, and this is very important, ask them to take action now. Or use marketing tricks like a deadline, limited supply, FOMO, coupons that expire in the near future, etc. to encourage immediate action. Even saying there's a limited supply for a limited time is better than nothing if you don't have a hard deadline. All right, marketing fundamental number 2, mind movies. To effectively create a desire within a person, Drew highly recommends the use of vivid imagery so they create what he calls a, quote, movie in their head. This does 2 main things. It increases their desire by painting a more vivid picture, and secondly, it helps them visualize actually using your product or service. Here's an example. Which would you rather buy? Example A, blank sells pizza, 1-800-555-5555, $9.99-123 Mozzarella Road, www.bigcheesedis.com. Or example B, Polly's Pizza. At Polly's Pizza, we hand shred our mozzarella every morning. Our competitors offer you a choice of thin crust and crispy or deep dish Sicilian, but they don't tell you that they buy their dough in hard frozen balls and thaw it out the night before. At Polly's Pizza, we make our dough fresh every single day. Our competitors tell you how convenient their home delivery service is, but they don't tell you that their average delivery time is over an hour. Polly's Pizza delivers in 28 minutes or your pizza is free. Call Polly's Pizza now, 1-800-555-55555, or order at pollyspizza.com. In example B, you start to imagine the fresh dough and the quality service. So obviously you're going to choose that over the competitors. Again, the other big reason that this helps your customer desire your product over the alternative is that they can imagine themselves using, or in this case, eating your product as they've read the description. Again, this is a key part of the buying process for every customer. They must be able to see themselves using your product, because if they can't, they won't. Also, importantly, the more vivid picture or movies in your customer's imagination, the more persuasive they are. Here's more examples to further illustrate how this works. You could say, go somewhere and do something. This is a blank movie screen, no imagery. Go somewhere and get something. Do can mean anything, get is a little more specific. Go to the kitchen and get something. Still vague, but now you know where to go. Go to the kitchen and get food. Now we're getting somewhere. Do you see how filling in the details creates imagery? Go to the kitchen, open the oven, and get food. Now notice you picture yourself opening an oven. Specific wording implants images. Action words create moving pictures. Go to the kitchen, open the oven, and pull out the pizza. Very visual. A picture of a pizza pops in your head. Go to the kitchen, open the oven, and pull out the freshest, crispiest, most delicious hot pizza you've ever eaten. Go on, cut yourself a big hearty slice. Careful, it's hot. Now, take a big bite. Talk about crispy. The dough was made fresh this morning and baked in extra virgin olive oil coated cast iron pan for a thick, deep dish Chicago-style crust. The sauce, prepared from scratch, of course, from juicy plum tomatoes picked this morning and blended with select herbs from our very own garden. Cheese, you betcha. Lots and lots of chewy cheese. Whole milk mozzarella made from the finest buffalo milk. Of course, the entire pie packed to a bubbling perfection in a 750-degree wood-burning brick oven from Genoa, Italy. Okay. Hopefully this illustrates the value of using words that create vivid imagery or movies in your prospect's head. This example also does a good job on how to dispel the marketing myth that you may have heard, short copy beats long copy. Well, Drew and all the marketing greats say the opposite. In fact, long copy beats short copy as long as it's not boring copy. So here's a good quote from marketing legend David Ogilvy. The more you tell, the more you sell. Drew thinks that short copy myth got spread because people's attention spans are shorter than the goldfish's. But the truth is that a lot of people need long copy to build up enough desire to buy your product. Don't be afraid to keep the copy flowing. To further dispel the myth, let's use some common sense. If a person with a short attention span can easily read the headline and then buy, they don't have to read everything if they don't want to. Therefore, with long copy, you can sell to the person with a short attention span, as well as the person who needs you to create a longer and more specific mental movie in their mind, in turn increasing their desire and convincing them to buy. Okay, with these fundamental marketing concepts covered, you're now ready to learn exactly how the human mind works, what people desire, and some other great trade secrets that Drew reveals throughout Cashvertising. Drew's main lesson, the Life Force 8, or LF8 for short. Human beings are biologically programmed with the following 8 desires. Number 1, survival, enjoyment of life and life extension. Number 2, enjoyment of food and beverages. Number 3, freedom from fear, pain, and danger. Number 4, sexual companionship. Number 5, comfortable living conditions. Number 6, to be superior, winning, keeping up with the Joneses. 7, care and protection of loved ones. And 8, social approval. Okay, so you're probably wondering, great, what do I do with this newfound knowledge? It's simple. Just tell your customers how your product or service meets one or as many of these desires as possible. The more benefits that you can show your product satisfies these desires, the better. Alternatively, people are motivated by loss even more than they are gain. So you may also show how if they don't get your product, they'll be missing out on ways to satisfy these 8 desires. Here's some examples Drew uses to showcase how effective the LF8 are. In his example, mail order guru Haldeman Julius sold 200 million books, nearly 2,000 different titles. They only cost 5 cents each. To advertise his books, he placed ads consisting only of the book's titles. If the book didn't sell, he'd change the ad copy, but not the way you'd expect. He actually changed the titles of the books. Then he'd sit back and study the response. How clever. Look what happened when he changed the titles based on the LF8 desires. Old title, 10 o'clock, 2000. New title, What Art Should Mean to You, 9,000. That's the LF8. As you can see, other examples. Sex and self-improvement were the most effective of the LF8. I guess you were right when they coined the phrase sex sells. I can personally attest to how effective the LF8 are, as I was able to increase our company's entire revenue by 36% in a single A-B split test by applying all 6 of the LF8 benefits our product supplied, which applied to our customers front and center on the homepage of our website. I was stunned by the effectiveness of the LF8, and I will use it in all of my future marketing. In fact, it's the main reason I'm making this video and sharing it with you, so you can improve all of your future marketing efforts. Drew is spot on with the LF8, and if you take nothing else away from this video and Drew's book, please take the LF8 and use them. Another main point of Drew's, people buy because of emotion and they justify with logic. That's why these are so effective, because they force an emotional response by touching on a basic want or need. Okay, now the 9 learned secondary human wants. Number 9, to be informed. Number 10, curiosity. Number 11, cleanliness. Number 12, efficiency. 13, convenience. 14, dependability, quality. Number 15, expression of beauty and style. 16, economy and profit. 17, bargains. These secondary wants don't come close to the LF8, but they're strong enough to create and increase the desire of your product in your prospects' eyes. So use them. In fact, I recommend you take a screenshot now and write your marketing copy to address as many of these human desires as possible in everything you produce. Or, for a complete list which you can easily access, I've got a link in the description below to my blog page with the LF8 and 9 secondary desires listed for quick reference or for a PDF download. Of course, I can't cover all of the gold that's in this amazing book, but before I conclude the video, I just want to quickly show you the extensive table of contents and other secrets of ad agency psychology that Drew explains and hopes it persuades you to get. In my blog, I'll elaborate much more on many of these concepts, but to highlight a few here, I encourage you to pay special attention and learn more about these top 5 marketing tips and tricks that I think are most powerful. Number 1, the psychology of simplicity. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Don't talk over people's heads. Just write at a 7th grade reading level. Number 2, the psychology of pricing. Everything's relative, so your product's price relative to something expensive makes your product seem less expensive. Quick analogy, if you push a refrigerator and then push a chair, the chair feels extremely light. But if you push the chair first and then go to push the refrigerator seems extremely heavy. So it's perspective here, and that's a little pricing psychology where they see a bigger price next to a smaller price. It makes the smaller price seem like a lot better deal. Number 3, the 6 weapons of influence. Shortcuts to Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. Drew takes the 6 weapons of influence and teaches them in his book, and they're golden. So I also highly recommend Robert Cialdini's book. But those 6 are the 6 he say are the fundamentals of influence are reciprocity, scarcity, authority, consistency, likability, and social proof. Number 4, the psychology of color. Colors create an emotional response, i.e. red is anger and passion, etc. So be mindful of what colors you choose. For a call to action, you can usually use Bob, big orange button, as long as it stands out with what's on the page. It's complementary. If you've got a lighter color, blue, green, it'll pop. So a lot of times a good rule of thumb is complementary color, the opposite color. That really helps your call to action stick out. But again, be mindful, and it's worth learning about the psychology of color as an advertiser or marketer. Number 5, put your biggest benefit in your headline. The famous marketer Jay Abrams says you can get up to 21 times the result of your marketing in ads just by better headlines, because they are usually the most important part of your ad. Again, this goes to the attention part of AIDA. So don't overlook your headlines. Some people say spend as much time on your headline as you do your entire marketing email or ad or whatever it is. Super important. All right, I know this was a ton of information, but because it's so valuable, I would highly encourage you to do one of the following 2 things right now. Yes, this is your call to action. Again, take that action now or you most likely will never do it. Okay, number one, buy this book and read it at least once because it's worth it. Put the description in below for you to find it on Amazon or Audible. That way you have absolutely no excuse not to buy it now.